Hi, it's Joe again, and welcome to the session video for autofilling of data. I'm in a brand new workbook, and I'm going to click in cell B2. This session is all about quickly filling in data into your spreadsheets. There's some common things that people put in their spreadsheets on a regular basis, things like months, days of the week, dates, numbering, for example. I'm going to show you some ways you can use your mouse to quickly enter that kind of information into your spreadsheets. First of all, I'm going to type in the full word January in cell B2. I'll use the check mark to finish off the entry. I'm using the check mark because when I do that, it'll keep me in the cell. If I had touched enter on my keyboard, it would have moved me down a cell. So it's just a small efficiency tip. So when you finish off your entry, if you want to stay in the cell, use the little check mark above column C. It's not there any longer because I already finished off the entry. What I want to do now is I want to fill in all the rest of the months going down the column. So I'll put my mouse in the bottom right corner of the cell where January is. There's a little black dot. If I put my mouse on that black dot, I'll get a black cross, which is called a dragging handle. I'm going to hold my mouse button down and drag down to row 13. And what it quickly does, it fills in all the months for me in long form. This is autofilling of data. It works for months in long form. It also works for months in short form. I'm going to click in cell C2 this time. I'm going to type in the short form for the month of October. The short form for month is the first three characters, and there's no period. I'll click on the check mark again to finish off the entry. And this time what I want to do is fill in months going across in row 2. So I'll take my mouse in the bottom right corner of cell C2, get the black cross again, which is the dragging handle, and drag it off to the right over to column H, and let go. And it quickly fills in for me October, November, December, and so on. So just a great way to real quickly be able to fill information into your spreadsheets. One example of doing it is using months. You can also do the same thing for days of the week. If I click in cell C3, for example, and type in the short form for Tuesday, the short form for a day of the week is the first three characters again, and there's no period. I'll click on the check mark. I'll go to the bottom right corner of that cell, get a black cross, and drag down a few rows. And it fills in for me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and so on. And you'll notice it does start repeating itself lower down in the list. If I was to type in the full word Monday, for example, and finish this off, and get a black cross again and drag it down, it'll fill in the full words Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on in the spreadsheet for me. So it fills in months, it fills in days of the week. It also fills in dates as well. Dates is a common thing that people put into Microsoft Excel spreadsheets. I always suggest to people, if you're going to put dates into a spreadsheet, put in your dates using numbers. You can always then change the format after the fact. Now, my machine is set up as being a month, day, year machine. Yours might be a little bit different, so you got to sort of watch this when you go to do it yourself. I'm going to type in 2 for the month of February, a /24 for February 24th, another /, and I'll type in 2016. Now 2016 is a leap year. Keep that in mind. I'll click on the check mark above column C. I'm going to go to the bottom right corner of that cell where my first date is and drag it down a few rows. And you'll notice as I'm dragging down, it's going to fill in for me all the way to the end of February, which in this year, a leap year, is February 29th. Then it goes over to March the 1st and so on. If this was not a leap year, it would have went to February 28th and then started March the 1st. These cells are still selected, and what I want to now do is to change the look of these cells to make them more readable for my audience. And to do this, I'll take my mouse up on the ribbon. In the number group on the ribbon, I'll click on the drop-down arrow next to where it says the word date. And on the drop-down list, I could choose, for example, the long date format. But instead of that, I want to see some more choices. So I'll move further down in the list, and I'll click on More Number Formats. It takes me into a separate window. And in this window on the left-hand side are different categories of choices. I'm going to stay with the date category on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, it shows me different samples of dates using only as an example, March the 14th, 2001. My first date is up here in the sample box, February 24th, 2016. So I'm going to scroll down the list and look for the full words March 14th, 2001. I'll click it. I can see my first date is going to look like this up in the sample box. And when I'm finished, I'll click OK. And now my dates have changed to a more readable format, February 24th, February 25th, and so on. The next feature I want to talk about is being able to count in Microsoft Excel. So I'll click in cell E3, and I'll type in number 1. I'll click on the check mark. And when I take my mouse to the bottom right corner of that cell and get the black cross and drag it down, it does not count for me. What it does, it just copies the information. That's not what I want to do, but I want you to understand if you just use the black cross for anything other than a month, a day of the week, or a date, it'll copy the information. So I'm going to reverse this out by going undo once, twice. What I want to do is I want to count starting at 5, and want to count by, say, 3s, for example. I want to go 5, 8, 11. So to count using this technique, this auto-filling technique, you type in the first number of the sequence, which in this case is number 5, and touch Enter to move down the cell. Then you type in the next number in the sequence, which in this case is the number 8, because my plan is to count by 3s, and I'll touch Enter again. I'm now going to go back and select these two cells. So I'll get a white cross in the middle of cell E3. I'll hold my mouse button down and drag down to the cell that has the 8 in it. So far I've typed the first two numbers of the sequence into my spreadsheet. I've selected the two cells. And then I take my mouse to the bottom right corner of the two cells and drag it down a few rows. And what that'll do, it'll count by 3s for me, 5, 8, 11, and so on. And here it is again. I want to start counting at 72. I'm going to count by 10s. So 72, touch Enter. 82, touch Enter. Select the two cells and go to the bottom right corner of those cells and drag it down a few rows. And now I'm counting by 10s, starting at 72. I can do the same idea if I want to put dates into a spreadsheet, but not put every date into a spreadsheet. Maybe I want to put every 7th date, for example, in a spreadsheet. So to do this, I'll put in 3/1/2016 for March the 1st, 2016, and I'll touch Enter. Then I'll type in the next date of the sequence, which is 7 days away from there, so 3/8/2016, and Enter. I put the first two dates of the sequence into the spreadsheet. I'm going to select those two cells by using the selecting tool. That's the white cross. And then I'll take my mouse to the bottom right corner of those two cells and drag it down a few rows. And you'll notice that it's going to fill in for me every 7th date. This is not a big deal here. This just means that the date is too wide for the column. So I want to now change the format of these cells, and that'll again cause the column to be wider as well. So I'll take my mouse up to the ribbon again, like I did on the previous example when we're working with dates. I'll click on the box that says the word date. Now move down this time to long date. And what that does, it formats the dates for me. You can now see I fill in every 7th date, March 1st, March 8th, March 15th, and so on. So it's just, again, a nice way to put information into your spreadsheet, saving you a lot of time by using this autofill feature. Up until this point in this lesson, I've been talking about how you fill in short series of information like months, days, dates, and so on. What I want to now talk about is how you fill in large series of information. In this example, what I want us to do is I want to start with the number 1 in cell A2, and I want to fill going down the column all the way down to 30,000, moving by 3s. So I want to go 1, 4, 7, and so on, but all the way down a long list down to 30,000. Now what I could do is I could type number 1 in here, touch Enter, type number 4 and Enter. Again, I'm trying to go by 3s. Then select these two cells, get the black cross and drag it down all the way down to 30,000. Now that would take me quite a bit of time to do so. It would work, but it's just not that efficient to do. So instead of that, I'm going to use a different technique, which is filling in a series technique. So the first step for this process is to put a number in the cell that I want to start my counting with. So I type in number 1 in cell A2, and I finish off the entry. Then I'll take my mouse over on the ribbon towards the right-hand side in the editing group. I'll click on the fill button, and on the drop-down list, I'll move down to the word series. And in the series window, in the upper left-hand corner, I'll put a dot next to columns. If I left the dot next to rows, it would fill in across the row instead. I want to fill in going down the column. Then on the bottom left-hand corner, I'm going to change the step value from a 1 to a 3. If I left it as a 1, it would go 1, 2, 3. I want to go 1, 4, 7, and so on. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, I'll type in the value where I want to stop. In this case, I'll type in 30,000. So I'm going to be filling in down a column, stepping by 3s, and stopping at 30,000. And when I click OK, what it quickly does, it fills in 1, 4, 7, 10, and so on, all the way down to almost 30,000. Now the next number would have been over 30,000. That's why it stops at 29,998. But again, it's a fast way to fill in a whole series of information, in this case using numbers. Now I want to show the same thing again, but this time I want to use dates. So I'm going to go to cell I2. I'm going to start with January 25th, 2016. I'll click on the check mark. And what I want to do this time is I want to fill in going down the column, filling in all the days, except I want to skip over weekends. I want to go all the way to December 31st, 2017. So this is another example of using the fill series technique for filling in either numbers or dates. So you start with a cell with a starting date. Then on the ribbon again, on the right-hand side, I'll click on Fill. I'll move to Series. And in here, it automatically picks on date for me. In the upper left-hand corner, I'll click on Columns because, again, my goal is to fill down a column, not going across a row. On the right-hand side in the Date unit, if I left it as Day, it would go every day. If I chose Month, it would go February 25th, March 25th. If I chose Year, January 25th, 2016, January 25th, 2017. In my case, I'm going to choose Weekday. So I want to fill in every day, but I want to skip over weekends. In the bottom left corner, I'll leave the step value as 1 because I want to go every day. If I want it every other day, I'd make that a 2. And then finally, in the stop value box, I'll type in my ending date, which in this case is going to be December 31st, 2017. So 12/31/2017. So to recap, going down a column, filling in dates, just fill in weekdays, stepping by 1, and stopping at December 31st, 2017. And I'll click OK. It fills down, so January 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. It skips over the 30th and 31st. February's again skips over some dates in here because these are all weekend dates. So this is all just a great way to fill in a bunch of information. You can fill in months, days of the week, dates. You can do short counting. You can do series of dates. You can do long series of numbers and long series of dates.